Hello, Tom Levecchia here with the latest edition of the New Theory podcast. We appreciate the increased listenership. Concluded our 9-part series with John Panisi, former main member of the Casey family. And stay tuned because we're going to be doing somewhat of a spin-off there. But we truck along with New Theory by having guests from eclectic backgrounds. And the truth of the matter is we have very different and varied guests on the show. And the truth is to find the commonality and unpack their success. And this next guest is no exception. Ralph Bugnara, I said in Italian. Ralph Bug joins the podcast today. Now, he is a return guest, very few of them. And he was on about 2.5 years ago. And we went through his arc of kind of raising really high, getting crushed in the crisis of real estate, making his way back. Ralph, welcome to New Theory Podcast. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me back on. I'm a fan of the show, so it's good to be on as a guest, but I listen regularly as a fan, so it's both.
And now we have a microphone. We got a green screen. We actually have subs. So yeah, so welcome back, Ralph. I'm happy to have you. So okay, so I wanna, and Ralph's a friend. I know Ralph for a while, but I want to kind of pick off. So you got crushed, came back, got back into real estate, and I want to say. Let maybe take us about 2 years ago, and then you kind of got deep into real estate, but B got in kind of the mentorship route. So walk us through like your progression, and I'd love to hear your updates.
Yeah, so mortgages and real estate has been a good place to be this year. So I'm still, my main function was always mortgage, but I'm on the real estate side too. I have a couple of real estate franchises, but the mortgage business was great this year because rates were low. The last 2 years have been unbelievable, and I'm running a franchise model for a company by the name of Caldwell Financial. They're a top 10 lender in the country. They're in 50 states. I'm really concentrated on the Northeast. I have about 40 offices now for them. And
oh, wow.
My group did about $2 billion this year in business. So, and some of it is technology and new systems, and some of it was the market. And, when the pandemic happened and everything kind of went through COVID in February, March, I really thought that the business was going to fall off a cliff. Like I was prepared. I was sitting at my desk. I was like, this is it. This is the end. And, we'll see what happens in 6 months. And real estate went really the complete opposite way. It became a feeding frenzy. So I've been, riding that wave a little bit this year. And it's a different market, but that's kind of what's currently going on right now. It's been crazy between mortgage and real estate over the last 12 to 16 months.
Interesting. You got to stop talking to me. Every time you talk to me, things go bad and then they get better. I don't know. Hopefully I'm part of the good and not the bad. But I always love how you pivot. You always stay in the game. You're always like grinding. Like it's funny that he's one of those guys that like he does well, right? And then you're like, wait, I saw him before. And he was on CBS or he was on Instagram, he was on whatever. And like you realize, oh shit, that's him. But he's always been there. Like, you know what I mean? Like, so that's one of the things. Like, I don't want to gloss over a lot of this stuff, but this guy hustles. So you have your hands. I want to make sure I filter this correctly, Ralph. In 3 pots, you have the real estate end. You got involved with the lending. And then now you're doing some media, correct?
Correct. Yeah, you're exactly on the money. Yeah, for sure. So Caldwell Financial is the mortgage company. My real estate company is Home Qualified, and that's homequalified.com. It was a real estate news website, but I have real estate franchises through there now. And then my media is really Disruptor's Network, or the Real Estate Disruptor. And that's really become my community-based business / my media company where we're producing all the content from.
Okay. And so, all right, be frank, because I love Ralph. Here's what I like about Ralph, and here's what I hate about everybody else, okay? I meet people all the time. They get a few followers on Instagram, but they want to do this, they want to do that. And all of a sudden, they're a teacher, or they're an influencer, or they're a disruptor. And like they get away from what they do, and then like they don't sell houses anymore, or they don't lend, or they don't whatever. One thing I like about Ralph is there's 2 parts. Number one, he's still freaking doing it, okay? He's still doing it. He's doing it well, and he has like 2 different streams of income, right? And then number 2, he's like, hey, listen, I'm going to show you guys how to do it. But again, I'm still doing it. And I love that. I love that about what you're doing. So before we kind of get, and I want to touch each of the silos, how are you spending your time? Because I myself, I have 2 businesses. Well, really 3 if you count the podcast. Not that it's a business, but it keeps you busy enough. So I keep my hats in a few different areas. And because I diversified, I got through COVID, right? And it's, when you have a cash cow, you spend less time. And if you have something exciting, you spend more time. But, COVID threw everything off. So how are you spending your time before COVID? And then how are you spending your time now?
So it definitely changed things. And for me, I feel like it changed things for the better for the most part, because before COVID, I was, we were doing a lot of live events through Real Estate Disruptor, and that was a networking thing. And I was running around a lot to try to grow the business. And when COVID happened, everything went virtual, right? So everything went to Zoom and this and that. So I really spend 90% of my time in one office in my headquarters space, and I'm there every single day. And I'm able to run all my businesses from there, and I have all my teams there, and I don't really have to leave the office anymore. So COVID really changed my world. And I've been listening to a bunch of podcasts, and I think this digital virtual world was going this way anyway, but this whole thing sped the process up 100 times, and that will all happen in 1 year. So most of my time is spent in one office. And so I did a couple of things this year that was good. And again, the mortgages is daily, and I'm always doing that. The real estate daily, and I'm always doing that. But, we went through a lot of kind of waves in the last year between COVID and, between George Floyd this summer and the protesting and all that stuff. And I kind of got, I got stuck. Like, I didn't know where to contribute. I was bothered by the whole thing, but I didn't know how to kind of get myself involved. And I don't think for somebody like me, protesting was the best use of my time. I don't think I can help people protesting. So when I said Real Estate Disruptor was a community-based business, one of the things I got into was, all right, so what I'm going to do is, I think that everybody has an opportunity in this country to do whatever they want. I really, truly believe that. Right. So I want to give people opportunities that haven't had the opportunities that younger kids, for whatever reason, has been a block for them. Yeah. So I started a scholarship. I called it Generation Disruptor. Yeah. I picked four people to get either their real estate license or their mortgage license, and I put them through this 4-month internship program.
Wow.
So I just kind of like, I'm going to do this. And I went and did it. The idea wasn't fully formed, right? So I just went and did it. And we had a lot of bumps and bruises along the way. And dealing with the new generation of thinking, you have the younger people thinking stuff like that is something I have to adapt to also. But out of that, I really decided that I'm turning that into an academy now, where I'm going to do it continuously. And it's going to be twofold. I'm not a saint, and I'm not just doing it for that, but I really want to train people in the business the right way, to have people doing business the right way. So it's really become my passion project, but it's something we're kind of working on daily. And now we're building a show around it called Disruptors Network, where I'm really going to have real people, I think, that are entrepreneurs that disrupted their business, whatever it is. But I want them to have real backstories. And you said it, you were like, people become influencers and they stop doing their job. I want the people who have real substance, who are still doing their job, and they can show people the way. So the show's going to be streaming on Amazon, Roku, Apple TV, and YouTube TV, and it's going to really showcase entrepreneurs who are making a difference. Like I'm trying to make a difference with the academy.
Nice. So what has been, because you are, and there's a ton of content, and I'll put links below for people to follow and check out your content. But what's your biggest learning from COVID? Obviously, you're a pivoter, which I love. So we know that you're a pivoter, so you have to pivot. But when do you know when to pivot? Like that's the hard part.
Good question. So I think you learn that from failing a little bit, and I failed a lot in that situation. But when February, March came along and everything was kind of up in the air, and believe it or not, the mortgage business and real estate kind of went through a 2-month little bit of a crisis where lending was drying up and the money wasn't available. And it really felt a lot to me like 2007, 2008. I was like, all right, we're going to have a little bit. And what I said is that I can't make the same mistakes that I made the first time. And the first time it happened, I kept working, but I kind of froze. I was like, I don't know what to do. I don't know where to go. Like I kind of froze. And I said, I had a meeting with my staff. I never forget, the day before the lockdown, I had a meeting with my staff, and I said, we just have to keep moving forward. Whatever we're doing, it may be slow, but we just have to get up and work every single day, however we're working, wherever we're working from, and keep doing the same thing until it becomes a clearer picture of what's next. And thankfully, it never stopped. It kind of just kept. It was worse, and then it kept getting better and better and better. But I think the biggest thing I learned is that just keep moving forward until your pivot really reveals itself, and it will at some point reveal itself to you. And I think it revealed itself to me in that I think that virtual lending and virtual selling and virtual for real estate is becoming the next thing. So my pivot now is that I brought a lot of my staff in-house, and they've become relationship managers where they're doing everything virtually for the most part, except open houses where they're prospecting clients virtually and they're prospecting referral sources virtually through social media. So everything is coming through Instagram at this point, or LinkedIn or Facebook, but they're prospecting socially. So I can really scale that business now because I can keep bringing in people, train them on the business. They understand social, they understand technology, and scale the business out that way. So I've almost completely over the last 6 months pivoted that way. But it took me a couple of months to realize that was the way to go, and it had to reveal itself to me, which it did.
So, and you're pretty heavy. You do different commercial and residential, but on the residential side, you're probably doing a fair amount of business, correct?
Yeah, I'm probably 80-20 residential still.
Okay. So we do have realtors who check out the show, entrepreneurs in the space, if you will. The $1 billion question right now is, it's like getting paid Zillow $2,000 a month, and then you got Realtor.com. They're charging you for a seat, and all this stuff adds up. And and it's easier said than done to create your own content. But what I'm getting at is, I always, I stayed away from doing direct marketing for brokerages and real estate agents. Not that we couldn't, we'd crush it, but we were too much money for them because it was like they didn't have the cash because they had nothing left because of all the expensive SaaS models.
Yeah.
So when do you recommend somebody, let me do a SaaS model, let me pay the Zillow or whatever and all these things, and when not to follow the SaaS model and when to do it yourself?
Yeah, so you're 100% right about the marketing. It becomes too expensive because most of these realtors, for instance, are all self-employed. Right. Nobody's contributing. They're on their own, and especially if they're new, it's hard to do it. So I always recommend to realtors, the first thing they should do is find a niche. Whatever that niche is. That niche could be, I want to be the number one realtor in Bergen County or Edgewater or wherever. Like, find a niche and become the expert on that. When you start to fill yourself up with business on that, then expand that to the next town. As far as social goals with that, you have to continuously put up content, whatever it is. I don't care what it is. You got to put up content that shows that you are an expert on whatever. You could be an expert on a blog, but be the expert on that blog on social media. So if somebody's ever interested in that blog, they come check you out. And then again, start expanding as you go. When you get to the point where you're starting to drive business through social and it's enough business where you're busy, then it's time to start investing more money in it. And you know better than anybody, branding is something that you can't see. Right. The dollars immediately, and that's hard to explain to people. But I think that you can do it as a groundswell first, where it's just you and you're organically doing it through whatever you're doing it. At some point, you're going to want your content to advance, and that's when you bring somebody like you in or an expert in that says, "Hey, I can get your content to a different level. Let's do it differently. Let's do something." But you have to find the niche on your own first, I think, and just own something. Own your neighborhood. Own where you were from. Own Airbnb strategy, own multifamily strategy, own something and become really, really competitive at it, and then kind of move to the next thing. And I think when I'm choosing niches, I want to stay away from a red ocean. And what I mean by a red ocean is that a red ocean is where there's a million sharks in there, right? And you heard this before, right? So I want to be in the blue sea, right? I want to be somewhere where I'm not competing against Amazon, like I'm competing against somebody who I can compete against. So I'm not going to be a new agent and go into the luxury market. It doesn't make any sense. But be a new agent and own the town that you were from. That's all you have to do. Be great in the town you were from and then expand out from there.
So the learning there is to follow the blue ocean strategy where you could charge whatever you want. You'd be more of a value add. And who knows, you could be the condo person in Hoboken for under 600K. I don't know if you can find that, but yeah, and that's your niche, right? Affordable condos still be able to be found on the Gold Coast. So there's many different ways to swing that. So one thing that I have to ask you, and this is probably a learning for me, because we always learn from each other, is I'm doing a better job of staying away from the shiny object syndrome and the shiny objects. However, though, I do a lot of different things, but the stuff that's sexier and funner are less profitable. Or like the podcast and other stuff. I do this all day, but I go broke, right? But you have your hats in a lot of different stuff, and I know you always make everything successful. However, how do you not go down the rabbit hole of like doing all the content for disruptors, doing all your seminars, doing everything else, and then all of a sudden 3 months you're down 17% and you lost 400K? Like, how do you? I want to know how Ralph does it, because I think you do it well, and you probably had some mistakes, but I think you do it well. And what's your advice to myself and other listeners?
So definitely a lot of mistakes is how I got here again. But that's usually my stream. But so like I'll bring up the seminars, for instance. I was doing all these live events, and we started to get good at the presentation of them, right? So the last one we did in January or February was we did a film festival for realtors, and I had all these special films made, and one was about me, and one was about people around me, and one was about we had all these people there, and I brought these people in. It was just, I had art. It was this great night, and at the end of the night, I felt completely empty. And the reason being is that how are we monetizing this? Like, how are we turning these people who came to our event into money? And I started to realize that it's great. This is great, but I'm not a party planner. So how do I start to go down a road that makes sense? So I think with that, it's figure out, like, I should have asked myself that question day one, but I didn't. So how am I going to monetize this? So even like the show that I'm building out right now, it's all self-funded. It's going to be expensive up front. So I had to, what I first did is came up with a plan. How am I going to monetize this on the back end? And some of it I can't see because some of it is driving business into my social, and then I'm going to have people mind. But I'll give you something that has worked for me. So I started this Disruptors Network. During the pandemic, I started to do this once a week or once every 2 weeks webinar where I was keeping everybody updated on the market, and everybody was home, so it was great. So everybody was signing in. Yeah. I turned that into the Disruptors Network, where I'm having a high-level speaker on once a month, talking about either real estate, branding, or sales strategies. Yeah. And I do it completely for free. I market the crap out of it. I get as many people on as I can, and we'll have between 250 and 350 people come on. So it's great. And then, so how do I monetize that? So after that, my team, Vicky, led by Vicky, gets on the list of the people that signed up. They reach out to everybody and say, hey, did you like what we presented? What did you like about it? By the way, what do you do for a living? So we gave them all this free information now, and say, okay, well, and most of the people are in real estate or around real estate following me. Okay, well, what's your capacity in real estate? Are you a buyer? Are you a seller? Are you an agent? And at that point, we set up calls with like, hey, let's set up a call so we can explain to you what we do on a daily basis and how we can help you. And that's been really, really powerful for me. And that's when I came back to you and said, this is how I'm kind of going completely virtual at this point now. So my job at the top end is to drive everybody into a room. Yeah. And then my team's job is to speak to those people and how do we grow business together? And that's what I'm really doing now.
Now I want to make sure I drive it home. Are you, from the strategy perspective, are you offering them a freemium model? Like, once I go to your course, I could pay you a few bucks and you mentor me, or are you trying to get them to maybe be refer you for lending or refer you for?
Yeah.
How are you monetizing? Because you got to run it to the goal line, but I want to punch it in.
So I have 3 different revenue streams. It's either mortgage, real estate, or the media company, which they do video and content for people. So each person fits into one of those 3 categories, and those are the 3 things I'm pushing. So they're going one way or the other, but it's all streams that I monetize off. And the idea is like, look, these are the high-level people that are my friends, that are in my network. This is why you want to do business with me. This is what we do on a daily basis. This is how we can help you. And then they go into one of those revenue streams.
Got it. Now, how do you not get tempted? Because you did a really good job with your own, so I'm going to take a pause for a second. Everybody who wants to create their own personal brand, it's fucking expensive. You need a graphic designer available. You need, an SEO person to get you to rank. You need a writer to write the stuff, the SEO to get the stuff to rank. You need a half-decent social media person to deal with the posts that you post yourself. And you're talking to form a team of 4 or 5 people, and on the low end, and this is out of pocket without even having an agency, $2 to $3 grand a month, and like, you're not making any money. You're getting likes and shares, right? So you've done it really well.
Thank you.
Your own personal brand. How did you not get sucked into becoming an agency? Because you could probably charge $5 grand a month to build somebody's brand, have 20 people, 30 people, crush it, but it's not your core. So how did you not get sucked into that to do that for other people?
So it was a thought at some point that we, like, as real estate Disruptor kind of grew, we were like, hey, I think this could be a media agency or a marketing agency. And it's exactly what you said. It wasn't what I made a lot of mistakes starting businesses that it wasn't my expertise, that I wasn't great at. So you're right, it was my own personal brand, but I'm willing to spend the money. Not everybody's willing to spend the money. And that's what I started to find. So I was like, I'm not ready. I would have to really go with this 100% to really do it the right way. And I knew I couldn't do that. So I stayed in my lane, and I was like, you know what, I'll be the branding guy in my business, but I'll use it to bring people to me so I can do business with them in a different way. And that was really my thing, is like, if I can't give it 100%, and Tom, I've been down this road, I know you have, where I've started businesses where I was like, I'm going to be an investor, or I'm going to be an advisor. And when I wasn't involved every single day, I just became frustrated. The businesses were unsuccessful, and I made a lot of mistakes. And I felt like with the media agency, that was going to be my handicap. So it kept me from doing it.
Got it. Now you historically have been very good about PR, getting PR. You had some representation. You did some yourself. I like how you do it. You're doing a lot more own media. Where you're creating your own content now. Now you're big into own media, but I'm talking more in terms of the personal brand. So you believe in own media, kind of probably shifting your resources there. When should you hire a PR firm or a small agency, and when should you maybe do it yourself and pitch it yourself? Like, I want to share your advice on looking back as an expert now.
Yeah. So I actually have a really good answer to that. So when I first met you, I had a PR agency. They were putting news channels and stuff like that. And what I realized about that, which is what probably you realized about it, is that they would call me up the morning of a news story. They'd be like, hey, we need you to talk about real estate in North Jersey today. And we need you here in an hour and a half. You need to send us notes. And then you need to come and bring this, and this with you. And I'd be like,
bring you guys.
And I was running around all day to get there, to give them the story. And what I realized about the reporters is that they were under the same pressures. They were like, we have to have the story written now. We have to be back in there. And then we have to go on Facebook Live and Instagram Live to talk about it on top of this. So it was just, I was like, this doesn't make any sense. So what I started doing, I was like, I'm going to write the stories for myself. I'm going to put them on my own website. And then I started, and that was homequalified.com. And that's how I started doing it. So I started making these stories. And all I did, it really simple. I had Flipboard set up, I had Apple News set up, and I would go through stuff that made sense to me. I would reposition it towards what I was thinking about it. I would then do a short video on it on my own with self-camera. I would have somebody edit for me. I would put it on my website. And then I went on LinkedIn and I started looking up reporters because they need content as bad as I needed content. I said, hey, writing for .com. I'm an expert on this. Check out my video. If you ever need me to quote on anything, please reach out to me. And I started to grow a following of these blog writers or reporters that needed me to quote on stuff. And it really worked. It was a lot of work, but at least I was building something that was my own, and I wasn't writing somebody else's story for them. And maybe somebody saw it, maybe somebody didn't see it, but I wasn't really getting what I needed out of it. So I really just I repositioned it in-house.
I like that. And so just a learning there is, and don't get me wrong, like we deal with PR agencies and I get pitched every day, and I don't want to say don't use one, but it comes a time versus money proposition. Like when you start out, you don't have a big budget, do exactly what Ralph said. He just gave you a goal, by the way: Flipboard, LinkedIn publishing, own media. Own media, for those who don't know, that's you create content. You may put it on another platform like LinkedIn, but you own that content and you get it out there. Earned media is when somebody pitches you, and then paid media is, paid ads. So I see how you kind of took your own media to get earned media. What do you do about paid media? Tell us about your PPC, pay for play PR, like your actual cash for ads, PR, etc. Walk us through that.
Stuff I've been doing recently, and I'm feeling my way through this still. So I'm on the Forbes Real Estate Council, which is a paid for council for anyone.
I did the same thing, yeah.
I write articles. I try to write at least one article a quarter. Sometimes I write more than that, and that helps really my rankings on Google. And then I'll run ad, when I get the articles up, all the press I get quoted in at this point, I reposition to my website. I do email campaigns around it, and then I'll do paid ads around that. So I'm repositioning the stuff that I'm writing for other people, and I'm doing it that way. So that's still working for me. What I've learned about Instagram and TikTok and all the other stuff that's going on right now is that, specifically Instagram, and I'll speak to that real quick.
Yeah, please.
It's very hard to grow organically on Instagram at this point. They've changed the algorithm so you can't grow organically on Instagram anymore. Yep. So the best tip I can give people right now, and I hired a company to help me with this, and they're young kids and they're great, these giveaways.
The loops, yep. We love the loops.
Yeah, so I did a giveaway, and just to give people an example, I did a giveaway. The name of the company is High Key Cloud, and I'll give them a shout out, but they do these big celebrity giveaways. And the giveaway is essentially really simple. They give away a Tesla. They said, if you want to enter for the Tesla, go follow everybody that's on our page. And that helped me grow my following. And maybe it's not followers that are actually engaging in my content. And that was always my gripe, but it pushes me up the social ranking. So my stuff, you see my stuff before you see other people's stuff. You see my story before you see other people's story. So that's the new thing. And what I can tell you about social media in general is whatever is new, like if Instagram, like I'll use Reels, for instance. Instagram put out Reels. Yeah. When they put out new promotions or whatever they're doing, use it immediately, because if you notice, you get a lot more views on Reels than you get on your own videos because it's new for them and they're pushing the algorithm. So just stay in front of the things they're pushing. And I don't know if anybody noticed, but they started something yesterday I think is going to try to go after Clubhouse, which is like
the rooms. I don't have a room yet. Do you?
Yeah, I didn't do it yet, but it looks like you can do 50 people in a room at a time. And I think that if you're listening to this, Rooms is brand new, go use Rooms, because I guarantee you'll be able to attract people to that because it's an initiative that they want to push, and you have to be on their team to kind of get the algorithm going.
So I'm not in Rooms yet. Do you have to get selected, or do I have to update maybe, or do you know anything about that?
I saw it yesterday, Tom, and now today I don't see it. So I don't know who knows what they're doing, but if you can see it, or when you can see it, I would suggest using it because I'm sure it'll be useful for the time being. But you have to learn how to play the game essentially, which is what I'm trying to get better at.
Are you on Clubhouse yet?
I'm on Clubhouse, yeah. That's a whole different. So I've been on for, somebody put me onto it about a month and a half ago. I went in and I started participating. I got in rooms and got on stages. The problem I'm finding with it now is that I see the people that are on and I get the notifications. These people, they're on all day. So when are they doing the things that they say they're so successful at is my next question. So I have a complicated relationship with it so far. I haven't fully embraced it. I'm trying to, but it's a good place to meet people for sure.
So because you have a few different business, and we won't get into the legal tax portion of it, but in terms of you have different business, I guess, line items or pillars, right? And do you centralize hey, I have a core social media group, or I got a core content group, I got a core video group, and do they service your 3 line items, or is your marketing decentralized under each pillar? Because I always wonder kind of how you balance that out.
So everything really feeds through my personal main page, because and I have pages for everything else, but everything kind of feeds through my personal page because I found that no matter what you do, people want a personal relationship. Yeah. They want to personally know you. They don't want to follow a brand. They want to be involved with you. So I really think personally, you have to push everything through your brand. Ryan Serhant's the biggest realtor in the world. He's got all these other things, but everything really he pushes to his own personal page. So I try to push everything to my personal page, and then I have the ancillary companies and they have their own pages and people do follow them, but I try to push through my own page and then put unique content on those pages that I promote through my page.
What's something that you're going to invest in more of in 2021, and what's something you're going to probably invest in less of in 2021?
So that's a really good question. So what I've been looking at this week more than anything, and the show kind of made me think, and anybody wants to do advertising, I really kind of got obsessed with this OTT marketing.
I love OTT.
Yeah, so I'm doing as much research as I can on that, and that's basically ads through these streaming platforms, essentially, right? And that's how I understand it. It's paid ads through the streaming platforms. And I personally think that it's very undervalued at this point now, because if you look at the cost of it compared to a radio ad or a television ad or anything like that, it's a lot cheaper. Right. So I'm really going to invest in that a lot in 2021. I think that's going to be my main spend when I'm really going to spend money is on OTT marketing.
Now, because you're getting more and more into video, and it's kind of funny because my podcast and when I first had Ralph on, I did it from a shore house down the shore, and it was audio only, and it did quite well. But now I kind of, and I'm not as you could tell, I'm not super into the glitz, the glam, but nevertheless, I now have a YouTube channel, and YouTube now makes up for 75% of our streams. It's not really a really big monetization point, but it's part of the brand build, right? Because that's one of those things. YouTube's a love-hate relationship, right? You need it, and you get a ton of business from it, right? But you get 100,000 views and you make $300. It's So my question is, are you going to put your show, on YouTube, right? Because I know you're putting different streams. And number two, give me your relationship with YouTube right now and where that fits into the whole thing.
Yeah, so it's definitely going to be on YouTube, and I have to make more of a commitment to it. And I think that if people don't stay committed to YouTube because it's hard. It's hard to get a lot of followers on there. It's hard to get people to really plug into your content. It's hard. I think people get discouraged very, very easily, and you can include me in that category. That I have a YouTube channel. I have a lot of content up on there, but I haven't done enough to push it. And I think with the show, with OTT marketing and all that stuff, I'm going to do a lot more to push that channel, because I think that ultimately that's where you're going to find the best audience that really engages in your content. Like, for you, I'm sure it's easy for people to click on Instagram, click on Facebook, but the truth of the matter is your real audience is probably on YouTube.
Yeah.
You probably have a really good audience on there because you stayed committed to it. So I think for anybody listening, I think I have to make more of a commitment there, and I think everybody should.
Okay, so where are you gonna take some chips off the table and invest less of in 2021?
So I'm sure you're reading this stuff, and all these targeted Facebook ads and all the ads that are going through that they're going to start like really policing and regulating now. That they're saying they're really going to regulate that stuff. I think that's where I wasn't having a lot of luck with it anyway, to be totally honest, on the real estate and mortgage side. It wasn't. And Tom, I've spent. You want to hear a failure? I've spent hundreds of thousands of dollars on those ads, and my return on the money for that is not where it needs to be. So it's going to start being regulated more. So it's giving me even more of an excuse not to do it anymore. I think that's where I'm taking my money away from. The ads through Instagram and Facebook that are based off of people's preferences and stuff like that are going to start to get regulated more. And I think we're going to have to find a different way to draw people in, because I think that's going to get harder and harder. So I'm going to be taking money away from that for sure.
All right. So one of the key learnings here is, and the next level thinkers already concluded this. You have your kind of big three. You got Facebook, you got Google, and then the third, I Instagram. I'll say two. It's Facebook, which is Instagram, and Google. Everything else is a far third place and so forth, to invest in paid ads or to get your message out, right? So one of the key things right now, and then you create your own content, and then they like kind of force you with the algorithm to either buy ads or create so much content that like it's almost cost prohibitive, because content still costs you money. But one of the things I'm learning from you right now is that you're going to take a little bit of money off the paid ad push, put it into my own media, use a little OTT and other stuff, because it may be cheaper to get that eyeball. It may be less expensive to get that click through. And then also you're going to, the worst case scenario, you at least own the content, and then it's out there. And then you could always, worst case scenario, buy the ads if it doesn't work, right? So I agree with you. I agree with you on that. And just give somebody perspective, if you want to get your name out there, and I'm just throwing numbers out, but like it used to be, you can get a click on Facebook for 1 to 3 cents. You can get a video for 5 to 8 cents. Now, like 14 cents, like it's not cost. And then you charge ads on your platform, or you have a SaaS model, and then you kind of either don't make money on it and you got to raise money for your customers. So you're definitely down the right path. So it seems like you're passionate. Tell us about the show that you did, and before we conclude, tell us about the show that you're going to do, Ralph.
So I used to be on a show, but I was on a show by the name of American Dream, which is like a national real estate based show, and they kind of like highlight properties and areas, and it's good. It's pretty cookie cutter, but it's a real estate based reality show. It's called American Dream, and it streams on all the platforms. What I realized from what they were doing streaming is that I could really stream my own show. And back to what you said, like I want to own my content, because then I can repurpose it everywhere. I own it in one area, and then I can use it to do a million different things. So I'm going to be streaming my own show. I signed the deal to stream my own show. It's called the Disruptor Network. It's going to premiere in February, and it's going to be on all the big platforms. So Roku, Amazon Prime, Apple TV, YouTube TV, and it's going to highlight entrepreneurs that are making a difference, like I said before. So, I decided to take back my content like I've always done. And the theme for me is go learn from somebody else, see what the mistakes are, see where I'm messing up, and then try to do it on my own. I don't ever try to do it on my own first. I kind of want to learn from people. And I learned a lot from American Dream, and now I'm trying to do it on my own.
I love it. So we're going to put obviously a link to your website, link to your Instagram. Again, it's like Ralph and I could talk for hours, but I think you got the core of, what to do now, where to go, how to pivot, where to invest, where to maybe invest a little less. And then Ralph, as always, thanks for coming on the show. For those that are listening, so we still have a decent amount of listenership, how can people find you?
But my Instagram right now is at dbug, at DIBUG. It's a great way to find it. And then therealdisruptors.com is the website. We're going to have an app on there, but the Disruptors Network is going to be the show. It's going to stream on all the services. So if you Google Disruptors Network anywhere, you're going to find it. And on YouTube, Disruptors Network, if you put it in, it'll be there.
I love it. Ralph, thank you for being on the show, and we'll put the links below.
All right. Thank you so much.